Welcome to our series of Canadian Nursery Landscape Association National Awards of Landscape Excellence Award Winners webinars. My name is Bill Hardy, the CNLA Communications Chair. I'd also like to introduce Sherry Williams from Caterpillar, our premier sponsor for the Awards of Excellence. Together, we conducted a series of webinar interviews with the 2020 Awards of Excellence winners.
All right, Bill. So I just wanted to take a moment and speak on behalf of Caterpillar. We're always excited to be a part of such a creative and passionate growing industry. 17 years we have been working with you, and we're looking forward to having many more years to come. Let's talk about the national awards. CNLA National Awards of Landscape Excellence covers 5 different awards of excellent categories. There is the Caterpillar Award for Commercial Landscape Construction, the Caterpillar Award for Residential Landscape Construction, the Hort Protect Award for Residential Landscape Design, the Hort Protect Award for Commercial Landscape Maintenance, and the Hort Protect Award for Residential Landscape Maintenance.
So for those of you joining us, if you've had the opportunity to watch the Awards of Excellence virtual presentation, you will be already aware of the winners in each category. If not, sit back and enjoy the interviews with each winner. Be sure at some point to watch the awards presentation. It's well worth the time.
We have pre-recorded all of the webinars with the winners to ensure we do not run into technical difficulties, with the winners being literally scattered from coast to coast, as well as me down in North Carolina. Each winner is participating in today's webinar, and they are available for your questions and comments afterwards.
So please submit your questions using the chat feature in Zoom, and we'll collate the questions and post them to the group of project winners after the pre-recorded session is complete.
So while the interviews have been edited for time constraints, each interview is available on the NALE website for you to watch in full as you would like.
So we're sure the award winners would be very pleased to answer questions from their peers, receive any feedback, or just appreciate a pat on the back for a job very well done. As you will see, like other years, the cream really has risen to the top. The projects are truly outstanding this year. So let's get started. Today we are speaking with Lindsay Drake Nightingale, owner of Yorkshire Garden Services, winner of the 2020 NALE Residential Landscape Maintenance category for the old Richmond Hill property. This award is sponsored by Hort Protect. So Lindsay, let's start by just having you tell us a little bit about your company, how long you've been in business, and how you've grown or developed over the years.
Yorkshire Garden Services, I started in 2002 and we incorporated in 2006. And I originally was down in the center part of Toronto in an area called Witchwood Park. And from there, it went from one client to numerous clients throughout Toronto.
Can you tell me what your roles are within the company? And also, with that, what was your part in the winning project this year?
Great. I'm president right now, so I have a staff of 8, 2 team leaders, which both of them worked on the property. So I originally sold the maintenance job to the client, and I meet with her regularly. She's a phenomenal woman, and has lived in this, built the house and then built the garden around it in about 2013. So we've been doing the property since 2014. And I basically am the liaison with her, and then the staff teams work on the property weekly. I have one team leader. She's been with me this is her 15th year, and she went through the apprenticeship program. Elise has been with me, I think this is her 4th year, and she's a graduate of the Humber program. I have actually, as well as her, I have 3 others that have done the Humber program, another one that did the apprenticeship program and is actually doing the arboriculture apprenticeship program as well. And then I have a University of Guelph student that was doing the landscape architecture program. So he works for me and his architecture firm while there's COVID. I also have another young woman that's in the pre-apprenticeship program, but she's off because of COVID. And then I have a young woman that comes from a farm environment, so no knowledge. So we hope to get her to go through the apprenticeship program as well. And I think that's everybody. Yeah.
That's terrific. But the farmer will probably turn out to be one of your best employees, trust me. So let's move on to the project then. Specifically, what made this project particularly special?
It's where it's located. It's such a surprise when you drive up to it initially. You think what you're looking at, just a basic front yard. It has some very interesting plant material, but then it's the surprise in the backyard that is just breathtaking. It has a circle of the beach, and then in behind the beach is a forest garden with different understory trees and ferns and grasses, and it's just this surprise, so that it has the big circle of lawn surrounded by perennial gardens along the perimeter, and then that surprise at the back. It's such a peaceful, beautiful place. It's hard to believe that's in the heart of Richmond Hill, which is a pretty bustling community at this point, and it's less than a kilometer away from the hospital. So there's always EMS going by, but you don't really have a sense of that because of the way it's situated, and how the trees and the gardens themselves are very insular. It's just a beautiful space.
Perfect. So Elise, could you tell us also what you do for the company and what your role was with the winning project?
Sure. So my name's Elisa, and I've been a team leader with Yorkshire for the last 4 years. Or sorry, I've been with Yorkshire for the last 4 years, a team leader for the last 3. And yes, I've been part of the crew coming weekly to take care of this beautiful property. Sorry, what else did you ask?
No, it's okay. So tell us about maintaining. So it's a pretty vast property. So you do it on a weekly basis. So how is that divided up?
Sure.
The workers and people going?
Absolutely. So our crews, sometimes it varies. We're usually about 3 people per crew. And we go once a week. So sometimes we switch back and forth between the back and the front. So 1 week, we'll just concentrate on everything in the front. 1 week, the next week in the back. What are the benefits of going so frequently, as well as the fact that this property has just gorgeous 4-season interest, is that we can really take the time. It's not so much just weeding and getting out. We're really able to take the time and address every single plant and its particular needs. So and something's always blooming or always putting on a show, and it's a joy to work there.
Did you have any other problems, challenges on the property that you've had to work around or rethink?
One of the big things is, because it is an ever-changing garden and it's so diverse, is this shot right here. So the one of the woodland garden in particular, it has changed dramatically, because we had a lot of viburnum, we had some dogwoods, and because the canopy is now a lot thicker and a lot darker because of surrounding trees as well as what was planted, we've lost some of the trees and shrubs that were there. So we've had to change how we look at this area, and new plantings that we've planted in there, and how they will change depending on how the canopy is. And then this area versus the area that is the lawn area with the beach around it, that's so sunny, and this is so shady. So again, we're always tweaking the irrigation, and just recently we had the irrigation company back in to change heads and to change lines and to put in drip lines instead of having rotators, just again because of the difference in the plant material. So it's always in flux, depending on the seasons, as well as depending on the growth of the plant material.
Have you received any feedback from neighbors about your particular work on the project, or peers?
Yeah, it's one of the ones where we've actually had a number of referrals because of this property. It is kind of one that has, it's such a beautiful shot. It's one that we love, and the front says it all. Like, it just makes such a statement in the front yard that it people that pass by there, they ask for business cards, or they ask for referrals, or they take pictures of the truck. And yeah, it's a very popular community as well. The older part of Richmond Hill is filled with a lot of old world houses, so people are always looking for ways to enhance them as well, but not like this one.
So what does it mean for you and your company to be recognized like this by CNLA and even your peers?
Well, I continue to be so proud of my staff for this. This is actually their award. And that's one of the reasons why I asked Elisa, and because it's their baby. Like, really, they're the ones that are there on site all the time with the crews. And I've even told staff that are no longer with us, but that have worked with us in the past, that worked on this project. I've told them that they won the award. Like, I have no problem passing off the award to my staff, because they make it. They're the ones that make this property so beautiful, and talk to the client on a continuous basis and know the ins and outs of everything on it. It's such a tremendous honor to receive this award, and peers that have come forward and congratulated us, and it's just such a thrill, really. I'm very, very proud of my staff, definitely.
Thanks very much, Lindsay and Lisa. Just in conclusion, is there anything else you'd like to say about the project, or anything in particular?
She's going to think for a second.
Yeah.
No, while you're thinking, congratulations again. It's an award well deserved.
Yeah, I know I speak for a lot of the other staff as well, just that we're so grateful for the opportunity to work on such a special property. It's just been, there's so many beautiful specimens that, it's been a really good learning experience, and also a way to kind of, finesse the skills that we've learned in our courses and in our previous training. And yeah, we're just extraordinarily grateful to the client. And and again, I'm going to pass on the appreciation to all the rest of my staff, the staff that comes on with me as well, because everyone just works so hard. So we're really lucky.
We are speaking with Pierre Dagany, President and General Manager of Aménagement Côté Jardin Inc., winner of the 2020 Caterpillar-sponsored NALE Commercial Landscape Construction category for the Parvis du Parc Frédéric CESM project. Sherry, did you want to talk to us a little bit about your sponsorship?
Yes, of course. We're so proud to sponsor an industry that is very strong, provenly strong, and one that is obviously growing as well. So thank you for all your hard work. And I'm looking forward to hearing more about your project.
Yeah, so Pierre, on to you then. Tell us a little bit about your company, maybe how long you've been in business, how you're growing.
Yeah, well, the company was founded in 1984, which is 36 years ago. We were two partners at the time. And since 2017, I bought back my partner, and I'm alone. We started, like I guess most companies, as a residential company. But very fast, we moved to commercial projects. And then as we grew bigger, we got into municipal and institutional projects. That is how we got today to build the Parvis du Parc at the Frédéric Park. And when we started, there was only the two of us. But at the end of the first year, there was already 6 of us. And nowadays we're about 60 in the company, 10, 12 people in the office and 45, 48 people on the ground. And, we specialize in complicated projects. Whenever other companies don't want to go, that's what we like. What was special about this project too is it's built on a landfill. And it's in an area of the city where there were no major parks before this one. So this is kind of a landmark in that area in the north of the Montreal city. And it's the first big park in that area. Also, it is very ecological oriented because it's built it's built in a landfill. So that was very interesting. The challenge was also, it's a huge site. It's 700 meters long by about 150 meters large. There was a lot of decontamination to do, a lot of waste management, and a lot of remodeling of the land. So it was not an easy one. It lasted for about 18 months. Another thing about this project is the atrium, the construction there. Now this construction, if you see the length of it, it's like 50 feet long, and you have some H-beam on top of it to all the structure. They're 50 feet long. It's kind of a big construction. Only that thing is worth, like, if I remember well, like $1 million. So, because if you look at the lighting, the structure, the design on the sides and in the metal plates, it's not an easy structure.
You also use some of the recycled materials in some of the construction. Is that some of the limestone and other things? How was that incorporated into the project? Okay,
it's more like in the previous slide, you could see in front of this one. You see there's a kind of a green wave and topped by a white wave. These material are broken glass, and they are there. Well, it was supposed to make it is making kind of a wave, although with time it move a little bit. But the idea is to because now this landfill is now a recycling site, so you will see. In these construction, we call in French, we call them gabions. I don't know what they're in English, but it's metal cages filled with rocks. Some of them were filled with, in that case, broken glass. Some of them were filled with recycled plastic or recycled toys, things like that. Just to emphasize the fact that we got from a landfill to a recycling site, which is quite interesting actually. And now it is a huge park. It is getting to be a landmark in Montreal.
Was there anything else as far as plant selection that changed? Any other considerations that had to be put into place because of the conditions you were working with?
Not really because of the conditions, because there's a good layer of soil between the landfill and the actual surface. But if you look at the different pictures, you'll see that you have some mature trees. Of course, those were there. They were kept. We kept all the trees that were in good shape. But then the rest of the trees that we put in are indigenous trees. And a lot of the green surfaces that you see are seeded, what do you call them? Seeded prairies. Yeah. So that, they would need as less maintenance as possible. The surfaces of grass that they actually have to cut is only maybe 1/10 of the total surface. So most of the surface is more like renaturalisation. I don't know what you say, how would you say it in English, but it's like we're trying to get it back as nature would have it. So no maintenance at all. So that's how they chose most of the plants there, the plant material. So you can see those recycling spots in different places in the park. This is the major one, this wave there.
So Pierre, what was it like working with the city as a client and the other tradespeople on the site?
It went well. Actually, this project was built by the city, but through what they call the Service des Grands Parcs. This is the entity that takes care of all the big parks in Montreal. Would it be the Montreal? Would it be Le Parc La Fontaine? All the big parks that they are the one who manage them. So we had to deal with them. They're known to be really picky and fussy. For some reason, we didn't feel that at all. I mean, this project went very well. They were cooperative, probably because also one thing that we do is we always try and see problems before they arise. So instead of, stopping the job or asking for a lot of money because, whoops, there's something that nobody knew, we kind of know it's there. We tell them this is going to come. So when we get there, we should think of a solution. We have a solution. We should do that, blah, blah, blah. So this attitude that we have, the city or whatever people we're working with, they like that because then when we get to the point where we need an answer, it's already there. Most of the time though, because I mean, even though we will give them a couple of weeks ahead, sometimes it takes more than that. It's still a municipality, so it doesn't always go as fast as you would like it to go. But the relation was good, very good, with the architect as well. We're all very proud of the result. The result is beautiful. The park is being used more and more. So that's the aim. If you want people to use things that you build.
What does it mean for you and your company to receive this award? I know it's probably puts an additional stamp on the quality that your company stands for, but what else does it do?
Well, we're very proud about it. Although I say we're proud, I couldn't tell everybody yet, but the few ones that I told, they're very happy about it. It's, we're kind of used to winning contest prizes in Quebec, and that's very nice. But to be recognized throughout Canada, it means something else. It means that the work that we did is recognized all over the country as something important, I guess. So being myself kind of an environmentalist, yes, I think it's nice that people realize the importance of recycling, the importance of leaving landmarks behind us, but landmarks that are going to be meaning something for the future, for our kids, with everything that's going on in this world today. It's nice that sometimes you can settle down into a park. And again, to that special thing to be recognized throughout Canada, I think that's very nice. And it shows something to me. So yes, we're very proud of that, very happy about it. And I'm anxious to share it with all of the team because I kept the secret so far.
I think it's an amazing project, particularly because of the history of the site. The work just looks like outstanding, first class. I love the way you use the gabions in English, just a little bit different pronunciation, I guess, to use some of the recycled material. I think it's just an amazing project. So congratulations. You well-deserved award, obviously. So it's too bad we can't be in person this year for the presentation, but we'll do our best to edit this podcast down or this webinar down. And is there anything else you want to add, just in closing?
Yeah, well, thank you. And we'll try to make it again next year so we can do it in person, maybe.
Today, we're speaking with Dan Matt at WILCO Contractors Southwest, winner of the 2020 Hort Protect sponsored NALE Commercial Landscape Maintenance category for Mahogany Beach. So welcome, Dan. Let's start by just getting a little bit of information about your company, how long you've been in business, and how the company's developed over the years.
Good morning. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me here. So WILCO Southwest is based out of Calgary. So we operate in Sullivan, Alberta, as well as offices in Saskatoon and Regina. So we are actually part of the WILCO group of companies, which is spread across Canada. So we've got WILCO Superior in Thunder Bay. We've got WILCO Northwest in Northern Alberta, Edmonton and Fort McMurray. And we've got WILCO Civil based out of Surrey, BC. So the WILCO business has been around since 1980. And before that, it was operating as Will's Nursery for 20, 25 years before that. So it's been a long time in the making to get to this point where we are now.
Perfect. So tell us a little bit about what your role is within the company and maybe what role did you play within this project?
So I'm vice president at WILCO Southwest. I'm a part owner along with my father, Peter Matt, who's one of the original founders. So at WILCO, I'm involved in basically all aspects of management and operating the business. We tend to split our projects between Peter and myself. So basically one of us is involved in every aspect of management. for any project we have. So Mahogany Beach goes back to 2014 when we started construction of the beach itself. And we had about 2 years of construction on that. And then we've been maintaining the site ever since, which has worked out really well for us. We're really glad to have a long-term package of maintenance on something that we built originally. So in general, on the Mahogany Beach, I'm in charge of client satisfaction, general supervision and oversight of the work and quality management. But our team has been very self-sufficient and they've been doing it for a long time on that site. So they do a great job with minimal supervision.
Okay, that's great. So let's move on to the project. Mahogany Beach, what made this one a particularly special one?
We're really proud of it because it's something that we've been able to be involved in long term, which doesn't always happen. A lot of times, once we're done with the FAC process and a site has been turned over back to the client, a lot of times that's the last time we get to be involved in the job. And you know, the long-term maintenance can be packaged up and then given to a different contractor from there, or managed by the city or different municipal groups. So it's nice to have something that we built from the beginning and we can stay involved in long-term. It's rare, and usually it only happens with private developers. So in this case, the land developer that we did the project for, Hopewell Developments, they turned the site over to the homeowners association. So they contracted the work out separately, and we were fortunate enough to be successful on that.
So tell us a little bit about the maintenance and the frequency. I believe I read this was a 21-acre area. So I can only imagine the crew size that's required, and the fact that you probably have to do a lot of the maintenance after hours. How does that impact your work in maintaining the areas?
So we've got a crew of 4 or 5, and they're in the development or in the community of Mahogany basically every day. So if they're not at the beach site, then typically they're out maintaining at other parks and playgrounds and boulevards, pathways throughout the community. So we fit the beach site in usually earlier in the morning before you get the heavy use of the beach site itself, before the heat of the day comes out. So it does take a little bit of juggling and coordination to choose what area you're going to focus on without impacting the user's enjoyment of the beach itself, right? So you're always working around people. You're trying not to make too much of a noise impact. You're trying to keep the leaf blowers and the noise makers to a minimum. But yeah, it's a weekly visit, sure. And Darlene and our crew have been very good at picking and choosing what they're going to focus on each day.
So thinking back to when this was in the design phase, was there anything particularly unique or different about the variety of plants that you put in? Or I think I read the 10,000 tons of sand that was brought.
Yeah, the plant material. So Bassett Associates did the landscape design, and I know Rich Bassett likes to use a lot of pine material. So not everything grows very easily in the Calgary region, right? So you get a lot of dry winds. You get some pretty harsh temperatures in the summer, and the winters are even worse, and you get the Chinook winds that'll dry things out in the middle of winter. So one thing that's done very well are the mountain pine that you can see in some of the photos here around the playground area. The mountain pine have done really well here. Some of the others, like the ponderosas, they ended up getting a little bit too wet in certain areas. So at the beginning, we did have a few replacements where irrigation would come down off the slopes and it was settling in the beds at the bottom of the slopes and getting them oversaturated. So some of those we did swap out for a different species. You get a lot of Brandon elm on this site, and ponderosas and mountain pines. So it's not a huge, wide variety, but these are species that have done really well in this part of the city in particular. So,
what does it mean to you or even your company to receive this award for this project?
It's a good question. And, you know, even 2 or 3 years ago, we wouldn't put the effort in to apply for awards or anything like that. This is something new that we've started in the last 2 years. And traditionally, when we looked at the award process and the types of projects that were being recognized, we would have sat back and said, well, you know, that's not for us. These are high-end residential jobs. That's not something we focus on. Our jobs are big. They're massive scope. You know, they're big and broad sites that didn't seem to always fit the award categories or the types of jobs that were being submitted by our competitors and others in our industry. So we've kind of gotten over that and realized, you know, if you want to be recognized, you have to express to other people what you're doing, why your jobs are important, why a job of a big scope is just as interesting as a job of a smaller scope that maybe has higher detail. So to be recognized for the jobs that we've put forth, it means a lot to the people that have built these things. It's not about patting ourselves on the back necessarily, but it's recognizing that you know, the work we do is important, it's valuable, and you know, it's of interest to a lot of people. We've put a lot more effort into things like social media lately and photographing our sites, putting together some marketing materials. And again, in the past, we would have never thought of doing that. Times are changing. People want to share what they do with their families when they go home at the end of the day. So this is something that ties in really well with that. We can share it with families, share it with people who are interested in the public, people who live in the community, and also to share it with our clients. I know the developers that we work with are really interested in seeing some of the awards and the footage that we can put together.
We'll be speaking with Andrea Rowe, the owner of AIRO Landscapes, Inc., winner of the 2020 Hort Protect sponsored NALE Residential Landscape Design Award category for the Kensington residents. So Andrea, let's get rolling here. Just tell us a little bit about AIRO Landscapes, how long you've been in business, how the company's developed over the years.
Well, AIRO, I started AIRO back in 2006, and it was I was doing design work on the side. And in 2011, I officially incorporated AIRO Landscape Design at that time. And so became incorporated in 2011. In 2013, I partnered with a business partner to be 50-50 partners in a company called Atmosphere Landscape Construction. And in 2017, we dissolved that company, and I took full ownership of Atmosphere and AIRO and combined them into a company that's now called AIRO Landscapes.
Day to day, what is your role within the company? What are you responsible for?
Day to day, I am managing director as well as principal environmental designer. So I manage, I obviously manage the company, as well as I help manage the crews and make sure everything's flowing nicely, as well as I'm principal designer here. So I also do a lot of design work as helping the team through those processes as well. But my hands are in everything to help managing, preparing quotes and securing jobs and dealing with the clients. And so I kind of do everything all the time.
Just a little bit more about your staff at AIRO,
Yes.
what qualifications they have. Particularly, I'm interested if you have any CNLA certified landscape horticulturalists or Red Seal landscape horticulturists on staff, or what their qualifications might be otherwise.
Sure, yeah. So we have a Red Seal landscape horticulturalist, Megan McCarthy. So she heads up our maintenance side of things, as well as all our plant installations, as well as does training for our staff to help make sure that they're installing plants properly. As well as we have myself as well. We're actually going to be going forward with challenging the Red Seal exam here in Newfoundland. and another project manager here, Don Goss. So hopefully by the end of this year or beginning of next year, we will have 3 Red Seal landscape horticulturalists with our company.
Was there anything particularly special about this project?
Well, with regards to, I guess, all of our projects, where we want to start with is really understanding our client and getting them to kind of reveal a little bit about who they are and how they use the space and try to create a unique space just for them. And this particular project was really interesting because there was an extra part, added part of the garden that wasn't being used. And so we had like a semi-private front area and then a pretty private back area. And so we had an existing gazebo that we had to incorporate and things like that. But what was great about this client, it wasn't about that high functioning, like where's my deck and do I need where's my barbecue area and those types of things. This particular, or where's my greenhouse and where's my vegetable garden, it was more about a garden for garden's sake. So it was for, especially the front area, the semi-private front area. It was for garden's sake. So it was about the plants, and it was about contemplation, it was about relaxing, it was about the graphic and the design. So it was really great to work with a client that was really just interested in creating a garden. It was really, really great. The gazebo side of things, we had to really look at the incorporating it and making it feel like it always fit with the garden. Because we didn't want to lose that. And then we also created a fire pit area off to the side so they can sit and have fires there.
So you mentioned some structures that they obviously wanted to work around, the fire pit and the gazebo. Were there other factors, some of the trees or anything else that they really didn't want to remove that they wanted to keep?
So this area, with regards to the trees, we had a very mature garden, so everything's very private and the trees were very big. And so what we did was we wanted to let more light in, so we hired a professional arborist. And so they came in, and Albert's Tree Services came in, and they really thinned out all the trees so we can let in a lot of light, and to make sure that we were able to keep the structure of the space, because we didn't want to lose any of the existing trees. They were very important to the client as well as to the space that was existing. So, so we did work with professional arborists there. There was also concern with regards when we had first started, because the larger boulders, which are on the back of the property, we had to get in our backhoe, so we had to work with the arborist as well to make sure that the trees were cut so we could get our backhoe in.
So I have a question. How badly did you want to move the gazebo?
I wanted to move it really badly. We did ask, and it was a no, because we have existing concrete foundation in there. So the gazebo was part of, it was there, and we just worked with it. And it turned out really great because it's a really nice addition to that little pocket in the garden. And so it does work.
Regarding plant material, new plant material that you put in, was there any particular unique or different plants that you put into the project?
This client was an avid gardener. We spent a lot of time on the planting plan. So we also wanted to make sure that there was, you wanted to make sure there were focal point plants as well as plants that would complement the area, especially if you were in like the pathway on the side there. We want to make sure they were lower as well, because it was a shaded garden in certain areas. We wanted to make sure that the plants were shade tolerant and things like that. So there was a lot of time went into actually choosing which type of plants were there.
Okay, so from looking at how everything's laid out, it looks pretty secluded. I'm just curious, are there actually neighbors around, or does the foliage help with that? Curious if this particular client, if they like to entertain. I only see 2 chairs in random places, not 8 chairs. So do they like to entertain, or is this more just one of their sanctuaries and away from the neighbors that surround them?
Well, there are neighbors around them. It's just hard to see them because of the existing greenery and things like that. So it is very private, which is really great. But there are only a couple chairs. This was about, especially the front area, it was more about contemplation, relaxation, a stroll through the garden. This client is a gardener. He wants to be in the soil. He wants to breathe the garden. He wants to be there, and that's his escape. and he really appreciates that. So this became, especially the front, it became very much about meditation, contemplation, relaxation, and more of an intimate space for them. The back area, similar. It's not meant for large gatherings. It's meant for him and his partner to have a fire, those types of things, or their immediate family members. So it is very much a private garden for them.
How overall was the project received?
It was received really well because there's something simple about it, but was very made a big impact. And so we did get a lot of feedback that was very positive from our peers, as well as we had some pictures on social media, for example. So that we got some feedback there. Not a lot from the neighbors, pretty quiet neighborhood. So, but with regards to the client, they really love the space and they've had great things to say about it.
What does it mean to you to receive this award and be recognized by this national association and from your peers?
Well, it means a lot to me. I really appreciate it. It's to me, it's the pat on the back. It's the acknowledgement. I really appreciate the CNLA, and these types of awards promotes not just us, but it promotes our industry, as well as what really promotes what we do. And so I really appreciate that, and letting people know. And then also too, like, we work really hard and we love what we do, and it's so fun, and our passion is there. And so to get the award is the reward from you guys, from the CNLA, and I can't say enough. I really appreciate everything, for sure. And even this, like doing interviews and the videos and things like that, that helps as well, and that helps us grow, as well as our entire industry and our community.
So Jason, just tell us a little bit about Fossil Landscape Construction, how long you've been in business, how the company's developed over the years, the types of projects you do.
Yeah, we've been in business for, I'm trying to think how long now, around 2002, I think we started, so it's been about 19 years. As it was first Fossil Project Services, operating now as Fossil Landscape Construction. And I think the name, you know, we battled with that a bit over the years. We changed to Fossil Project Services just because we felt like, you know, we're in landscape construction, but we're taking on everything outside of these kind of estates and projects we're building. But we found over time that we were fighting with just where our roots are, which is really, it's just landscape construction, and really wanted people to understand that that's what we do. We can do all these other things. I find people think of landscaping as, you know, planting trees and shrubs and things like that. And, you know, Bill, you mentioned, you know, the grizzly granite for this project and things like that. People don't, you know, think of necessarily the masonry components, the infrastructure of the project, excavation, land works, and things like that. So, but I've been around for about 20 years, and I've been with the company for almost that long. So started out when we didn't have as many crew, and we've tried to be, you know, we've grown over the years, tried to be pretty progressive. We've been lucky enough in Vancouver to work in kind of a high-end residential market where we've been kind of blessed to work with some really amazing architects, landscape architects and builders that have really allowed us to work on some unique spaces. And it's enabled us to grow, but also to be innovative in terms of technology. And more recently, safety has been a huge one for us. And yeah, just it's exciting to be part of that growth of a company, and really a lot focused, well, safety, but also on learning with our staff and things. We're up to probably almost 60 employees. So we have a full-time HR person, and in terms of, they do recruitment, but they also do a lot of training sessions. And again, safety, but also things like, you know, red seal carpentry, horticultural training, all these different things. So yeah, we're trying to grow and build the company, and also create these exceptional outdoor spaces that are really unique within our industry.
Tell us what made this project particularly special.
Well, this was a client we'd worked with, well, as far back as about 2007, and they had a renovation they did at their previous property, and we were lucky enough to start working with them then. The scope grew in that one, and we ended up creating an amazing space for them. They were doing a smaller renovation of the home, but a full landscape renovation. For them to hire us again for another project was pretty special. So with the client, that was one of the things that was great. I had an existing relationship, so you don't have to go through that whole learning curve again, which is nice with a client. And it was the same landscape architect as well, which I've worked with, Paul Sanga Creative, in the past. And so having that team back together felt like, you know, you were getting back together and getting excited about the kind of the next new big project. So it was really good.
So I just want to learn a little bit more about your staff qualifications and stuff. Particularly, I'm interested in if you have Red Seal landscape horticulturalist. I know you mentioned a Red Seal carpenter, or landscape horticultural certification program through CNLA, or what are the qualifications of your people on the ground?
Yeah, we're striving for that. I wish I prepared more on that front, because I could have probably put a list together. But I'd have to talk to Andrew Harvey, our HR person, around exactly who has what qualifications, because people are kind of moving from here to there. I know Red Seal Carpentry, and we've got a carpenter specifically right now who can sign off on hours for all our carpenters. We're doing a lot of high-end architectural concrete forming right now on a couple of different projects, one of which I'm involved with. So there's that. There's the masonry Red Seal. I think we've got one person right now accredited, and then other people working towards that. And for horticulture, I believe we have one other person that may have the Red Seal or is working towards it. And then we're really, that's, you know, it's crazy being a landscape construction company. One thing we've not struggled with, but always had challenges with, is just getting that horticultural team. We have a great horticultural team, but with some of the huge feature trees and all the different things we're doing, it's to building that team. Well, all the teams are hard to build within the company, but it's just having that key horticultural component. We've got some great people in there, but I think there's more work we can do there. And I think it's affiliation with some of these other programs and the CNLA where we could kind of get help with that.
You mentioned there was a great deal of engineering for all of the stonework and excavating and concrete pouring and everything. What were your most significant challenges?
That's a great question, Bill. And you mentioned the grizzly granite, and you know from firsthand experience just how amazing that stone is. It's a great feature. It's a local stone, which was nice. And the first challenge was using these large pieces of granite, and the sizes. I'd never done that before in terms of a masonry facing material in that format, because some of the stones were just so large. We had to figure out how to set them and have them structurally sound. The concrete behind, I'm used to doing concrete walls, talking to structural engineers about that, but I actually had difficulty finding people that would actually talk through the details of how to and commit to a detail on something as unique as this. So we kind of came up with a bit of a format. We have we purchased a few years ago a small crawler crane. So we knew we had a crane that we could use that could be on site and fit on site and lift these weights. So we figured we're going to have a way to lift the stones and hold them in place, and then also fasten them to the wall. So we actually came up with some details ourselves with eye nuts and Hilti hit epoxy to be able to lift the stones, but then also using those same anchor points to bolt the stones then to the wall and set, starting from ledges of, in some cases when you've got stone hovering above a pool or a water feature, like in the cigar room here we're looking at, we had to have stainless steel angle iron that was specified by structural engineers to hold that up. So a lot of working with landscape architect around exact dimensions and sight lines and critical alignments, but then translating that to something that a structural engineer can look at and go, okay, we can make this work, and notching the stone so you don't see certain components. And yeah, it was pretty a lot of challenging things that way.
Curious about what kind of feedback you've had on the project from the residents, the visitors, and peers for that matter.
It's been great, and I've actually been back a couple of times where there's been an acquaintance of the owner who's doing a large project and is it kind of wants to see some of the details because they're using the same landscape architect, and is actually come to the property to experience that, to see whether there's things that they can incorporate into their, whether it be stone details or different lighting things, or the infinity edge pool incorporated into their project. And even, and that actually happened within the last couple of weeks. I was at the property, and just, it feels like I'm kind of almost going back to see an old friend. So you go on, and I saw one of the kids, and I couldn't believe I hadn't seen them, the one grandchild, for a long time. He was there with a couple of buddies. He's taller than me now. Last time I saw him, he was, knee height, back in 2008 or whatever. And just watching, there were like 5 kids in the pool, all different ages, and people experiencing the backyard, and not just, adults having 3 people standing around. It's like they're actually really using the space, and there's kids playing ping pong, an outdoor ping pong table, and just knowing that you created something that somebody's going to use and different generations are going to use. And really, in a lot of the artwork, you see people walking around and exploring the artwork because it's accessible, and it's almost like it's a gallery. You can walk through the different spaces. So really that and then being welcomed to the property by the owner when you're there, and having the dog run up to you, know who you are, is something pretty special. I haven't had that happen much over the years. So yeah.
Well, Jason, it's an extraordinary project. There's no question about that. Well deserved for winning, no question. So I think we're just about ready to wrap up. I don't know if you have anything you want to add.
When we were on site, I'm thinking about, I probably shouldn't think too much about what I'm going to say, but then you think afterwards, like, did I mention something? We hadn't even talked about the infrastructure for, sound. And like, when I was there the other day, they had the stereo system on and outside, and it's kind of seamless. And I kind of go back to, oh yeah, that's right. We had to plan out where all the subwoofers were going into the landscape around all these feature trees, and the landscape lighting system, and, like details underneath stainless steel railings of having strip lights that would be triggered by motion sensor when you walk out, because they don't want the light on all the time. It's like, I just get overwhelmed, and then think, wow, how the heck did we pull this off? But we did. So.
Okay, thank you, everybody, for coming and attending today. We really appreciate it. Unfortunately, I can't see the list of people that are attending, so I'll find out afterwards. I know we had a number of registrations. We do have some questions for the panelists. So if you have any questions that you still want to add, either use the Q&A button in Zoom or the chat feature. I'll run through a few of the questions, and making notes as we were going here. I think the editing, I don't know about the other panelists and the winners, but I think the editing crew did a really, really good job, because I was checking off the questions to see if we answered them all in the edited version, and most were answered. So, but we do have some questions. So Sherry, is there anything you want to add before I start with the first question?
No, well, actually it goes to all the panelists. At some point, it would be great after you did the interview, now you've watched the interview, what did you not say? Some of you are smiling like, yeah, I got all kinds of stuff. So I don't know if there's something that you want to talk about specifically, or if you want to think about it, and we'll go through the chat and then give you the floor again to add a little bit more about the project or your.
Good idea. So we did have a couple of questions, Pierre, specifically for you. There was a couple that I think were really good. One of them relates to establishment maintenance after the project was completed. How long are you required to maintain the garden afterwards? Or does that immediately turn over to the city or the Parks Department or whomever?
Okay, good afternoon. To answer Sherry's question, yeah, it's nice. It's very nice to be chosen for that as a winner. It's very, very nice. If that's one comment, I didn't say enough. That's one comment. Maintenance depends on the contracts. This one, we had a 2-year maintenance contract. Normally it goes from 1 to 3 years, really depending on what city you're dealing with. And after that, it's given back to the city. Unfortunately, what we normally see is that the city doesn't take too much care of its properties because they don't have the money for it. What is nice with this one is it's not a big concern because since it's been a renaturalization project, it doesn't need that much maintenance afterwards. So it's still, as you can see when we did the interview, it's like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, it still looks very good.
And we had another question specific to the park. This is coming actually from a park supervisor for another city. They're wondering about vandalism on the project, from spray paint to physical damage. Such large areas open up a canvas for such things, and they're wondering how that's handled, or is there any specific materials that were graffiti resilient?
Surprisingly enough, and the particular project, we didn't see any vandalism at all. I mean, normally you would see tagging a lot. Well, actually, the more you get towards downtown, the more you get tagging. And, so we were expecting some tagging on the structure, didn't get any. My personal feeling is that when you build something nice on a public property, people are going to respect that because you know, nice is good for you. Nice will give you peace of mind. So people like it when it's nice, and they will respect that. We on public property we see that a lot. So no, that was not a concern, at least in that project. Most of the project we do actually, it's not a big concern.
Very good. I had a question specifically for Lindsay. Maybe this relates more to commercial maintenance, but how hands-on is the owner? Like, do you get a lot of direction from the owner, criticism, reviews, or are you just left to do your own thing and look after it the way you see fit?
She's generally really easygoing. We'll make recommendations. Like, we had a drainage issue where we had to replace a Japanese maple, and we just said, like, your Japanese maple's dying, and this is why we'd like to fix it. And she's like, yes, please. And we picked out a completely different tree. She's hands-on. Like, when I was talking about earlier about the irrigation issues, she was there for the walkabout with the irrigation company. And we went through everything because she does her containers herself and the herb garden. She wanted to ensure that everything was being watered appropriately. We've had trouble with the lawn. Even though we don't do the lawn, we know that there are some soggy spots that have been in the lawn. So she was very aware of that so that she could talk to the lawn care company. If we have suggestions, we put them forward, and she generally just says yes. Yeah.
Terrific.
It's a great property to work on. Great client. Zita's is my longest standing employee, and so she's been working on that property since we started. And
excellent. I've got another question in the Q&A that I'm going to leave to the end. I have a question now for Dan on the Mahogany Beach. We had a question come up during the chat, but which you kind of answered, but just in case there's some further things you want to say, how does the specific beach maintenance differ from your typical neighborhood maintenance duties? And I think I asked the question during the interview, whether you use any specialized equipment for cleaning the sand or the beach, or you mentioned in your description so much tons of trash every year. Just a comment about that if you're with us, Dan.
Yeah, we talked earlier about that, and one of the things with a newer community, so it's a very, it's a new community, so you don't have those established big mature trees that put a lot of debris on the beach area. So the beach itself is very clean. It takes minimal raking and there's very little trash cleanup. It's been open for a few years and it gets a lot of use, but it's a very wide open, clean site. So I know our staff really enjoy doing the work at the beach. It's probably the highlight of their week. They get out of the general community, the boulevards, the parks, playgrounds, and they get over to the beach where things are always pristine and perfect, and the standard of care is very high, right? And the gentleman from Montreal commented about when you complete a job for the city or a municipality or somebody who doesn't necessarily have the level of budget or service to maintain that high standard, it can be really frustrating as a contractor to keep your standards really high. You turn it over to the client and then you kind of watch things deteriorate and there's not much you can do about it other than sit and stew. So it's really nice to work on a beach long-term and see that level of care be at the highest level that it can be, right?
Terrific. I'm going to go with one more here, which is to Jason. In the slides that we were watching during the interview, there was a lot of artwork featured. Now, I'm wondering if that artwork played into the original design, or if it was added afterwards, or what was the order of operations there?
Yeah, there was actually, there's so much artwork on that project in the house and then kind of outside the house. So there were a lot of pieces that came from the previous property. So for instance, there's the Bill Reed big Haida Gwaii kind of head in the cigar room water feature that we had actually already previously installed on their past project outside in a different kind of base location. So that was stored at a kind of a high-end art kind of storage facility, and then we knew that piece, and we were able to. Now it's sitting on a stainless steel kind of. Whether you remember the piece, it's kind of hovering there above the water. So that space was designed around to have that specific piece in there, which was really unique. And then we did have kind of a list of all the different pieces of art, and most of them had kind of really kind of custom bases made. So that was part of the process, was finding not only the locations, most of them were pre-planned, like the kind of soldiers and pieces, the 5 pieces along the pool that are on large granite bases. But something sprung up, and then the owner would say, hey, I bought this really nice new sculpture. Can we find a place? And it was kind of, I thought at first we were getting too crowded with some things, but the way it all came together, and having, again, Paulsanga Creative involved, planning out those spaces, and the owner really willing to take kind of that creative direction from a landscape architect was key. So we were more fitted with the task of kind of the actual installations. But most of the sites, they were all planned out beforehand, and pretty unique to work on with that many kind of sculptures on one property.
Yeah, it's amazing, actually. So, Andrea, I didn't come up with another question for you.
Well, I have a question.
Good.
For
Perfect. Thank you.
So again, this looks like a place I want to be, especially because I have 2 small children. I need a garden sanctuary to go to. I think I saw that this was the 2nd project that you have worked on. Has the client come to you with some other underutilized areas of his landscaping, any future projects that you might be working on for him or her? You're on mute, I believe.
Was that one to me? Sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
Okay. No, we built this project, or we worked on a previous project for design back in 2010, and it was a side project with regards to a backyard project more so. So we had an outdoor kitchen, and there was a seating area, and we had a pond feature that wrapped right around that seating area. And then we had this vegetable garden space, and there was a composter. So it was a really more functional area. Whereas this new particular garden was a space that that was just for relaxation. It was garden, like I say, garden for garden's sake. So we did something that was much more about the space, the graphic and aesthetic, and being able to sit in that space and to enjoy it, as well as with regards to he's an avid gardener, so he wants to garden on his own and things like that, which is hard because we'd like to do a little bit more maintenance there, but he's like, I want to do it, and I'm like, okay. But no, we haven't gotten any more project. We ran out of space.
Oh, did you? I know everybody's been home, so I wondered if he's been sitting outside thinking, well, I could do something here. So if you come up with something.
Yeah.
But actually, to the extreme side, Jason, your customers, they were looking for more of entertainment space. So I know one thing that you have mentioned when we were doing the interviews, you didn't talk too much about the infrastructure and the sound. Is there anything you want to add that you didn't get to talk about? We looked at the art, and I think it was a all new residential design redesign too, or remodel?
Yeah, they in order to keep the square footage of that home, it was pretty unique. They kept the footprint of the house and dug out the basement. So that work was done before with the builder, but I just, at the end, it was really great. And I wanted to mention how good a job your team did with all the editing and everything of all the footage, as well as the interviews. I think that was really well done. But just at the end, yeah, think back through the project. Just how much planning it took with all that infrastructure, sound, lighting, and then the details around even just the outdoor kitchen. That the sky pergola was, I think, the first of its kind installed in BC that has the tilting louvers and retracting louvers. So very, and you know, the footprint of that had to line up with the pedestal paving that's all level at the pool, and thinking through where those lines, we were ordering stone from India, and you know, even just on Zoom calls with a quarry in India where they're talking through details of how light reveals work in these you know, stone stairs as they're cutting them out. Just, I was thinking back when you were doing the first interview of just how much detail went into these different spaces. And then when you look at the project in the end, it seems pretty seamless and it flows very nicely. But it's amazing what went into that in terms of the design process, but also just the planning of the build. So yeah, it's too many details to think about. It's a bit overwhelming sometimes.
Anything else, Sherry? I have one more question from the Q&A, which is to everybody. Do you have anything else, Sherry? If not, then the kind of a final question, which is for all panelists, which I think is pretty cool, is what's it feel like to be the best of the best? Don't speak up.
Sweet. Just between you guys and us. It's pretty sweet.
I think it can be humbling. It's great to celebrate your successes, but in your back of your mind, you're always thinking about something you didn't do right on another project, or a problem you're having somewhere else, or a challenge you're going through. But I think it's important to not let that stop you from celebrating something you've done really well, right? It's a tough industry where there's always something that can go wrong. A tree can die at any time, and you feel like a fool, right? But gotta celebrate your wins when you can.
I think Bill, too, this format this year has given me a lot more insight into the details of other people's these other winning projects, and it feels pretty pretty humbling to be kind of among this group, like you said, the best of the best. It's great for our with the way you've presented it and everything. It was great to be able to have our team, like everybody that's out on projects right now working, be able to see this and to see the other entries, the other winning projects, and then know that they're part of that. And I think they're out there working really hard every day in these different components, and to see it all come together, it's pretty special for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that. You work hard, we work hard. As Dan said, we're in a tough industry. Anything can go wrong and everything can go wrong, and things will go wrong eventually. But then in the end, you do have a nice project. You're proud of it. And so to have it recognized provincially is one thing. Nationally is like a step forward. It's very interesting, very nice. One regret, I mean, it would have been nice to be able to do this in person, because then you get to meet, you get to exchange more about practices, things like that, and mentalities and everything. And I think it makes us more as a unified industry. I like that.
Thanks, Pierre.
I think for me, with regards to that, I really appreciate my team. And sometimes when you step back and you realize all the hard work you put into it, it's really great to share that with them and get them to see what they've done and what they've built. And so you really get to appreciate everybody around you, which is what they really enjoy as well. They're really sharing in this with me. I wish I could have them all here behind me, but I get a lot of feedback from. I get a lot of. It gives me a lot to share that with them, and I'm very honored.
Okay, Sherry, anything in conclusion from you?
No, again, I just want to thank everybody for all the hard work, and I'm looking forward to seeing the projects next year. I think, to echo somebody's comment about more appreciation for, I've learned a lot more about these projects this year than I have in years past, and I'm just in awe. So congratulations to you all, and I hope to see your names on the dockets in the future.
And I just want to concur with the winners this year that the projects were outstanding, and I think we've gained a lot more through the presentation this year than we've had in person in the past. So I think even if we go back to face-to-face, we'll still incorporate some of these things. And for the winners, thank you so much for the extra time and effort you had to put in this year for us to do this. And you all contributed today, you all contributed to the interviews when we did them. You all had videos, you've had other interviews, I'm sure. And it's really helped. Your help in this is what's really made this, I think, a really good presentation. So thanks, everybody.